Welcome back, a Doctor Perspective mini-sode. Today is Perpetual Traffic, episode 179. It talks about the FSMC formula, which we are not going to go over. But all that pretty much means is you have a web page, you're driving traffic, whether it's through Facebook or Google, and you want them to complete an action, like download your no needle acupuncture blueprint to get rid of knee pain. They click it, they download it, and now they're going to be in some kind of email automation. And at this point, it's all about the follow-up. Like, what do you do with these leads? You're going to have cold leads, you're going to have warm leads, you're going to have hot leads. The hot leads are the ones that call you and like, yes, I want you to get scheduled now. And then the cold and the warm, you're going to have to figure out. You might already have like a welcome email and like a 3 or 4 doctrination email sequence, which could then be followed up by some sort of sales pitch that you may have. And then if they don't buy, or even if they do, you just send them a bunch of emails until they unsubscribe. Okay, so that's a theory that people use. After you take them through a certain amount of emails, you can kind of gauge, do they open them? Do they click the links? And if you find someone who's clicking and doing all that stuff, then yes, keep them on the path that you are. If they're not, however, they're kind of recommending the Fibonacci number formula style, which means it's kind of like a snail shell. It's kind of like, it's not really necessarily cut in half, but it's saying you have the first email, then a day later, it's 1, then 2 days later, 3 days, 5, 8, 13 days later, 21, and 34. So that's a long time, like 5 days after this email, and then another 8 days after that other email. So it ends up being a long time. But once you figure that out, you can start fading these people off of your list. And if you still see after those next 6 emails, they still don't do anything, you can remove them. And then you get to spend less money on MailChimp or Aweber, whatever you use. And so if you're looking for content creation, you can use other people's articles, cite them. This was really something cool I was reading about your condition, talking about doctors. Let's go with like T-Chiro. That's just because what we're used to. And what you also might find is that you have a patient story. So if you keep answering, say, the same 5 questions every day, jot those down real quick, or use your phone, record that question, and get back to it later that day and record your answer. And with Otter.ai, you can translate it for free. That can become a blog post. It can become an email. It can become YouTube. You can do a Facebook or YouTube video about it, just answering the most common questions you're always getting anyway. Another option is if you hear a patient testimony, they're like, well, I don't really want to write it down or do a video, which is too bad. We definitely want those, and they don't want to go on Google. But you still know it, and you can still use it, just don't use their name. And it's more of just a generic, well, I've had this patient before. And you just have to go kind of like a before and an after. You can go a step further and say, what was the problem before you had the product, your service? What was the frustration that you tried to solve? But what was the difference between using your service versus, say, the other person down the street or the surgeon? And then take us to the moment that you decided this product is definitely working for me, and what's life like now that the problem is solved. So there's your framework for an email. And then there's also the state a problem, agitate the problem, and give them a solution, and what the solution was. Of course, being their guide, not the hero. And that's another email format that you can take that you probably see all the time. All right. Like I say, start a conversation. What are your thoughts on the show? On these mini-sodes, on this one in particular? Just find me, reference the episode that you're commenting about, and let's have a dialogue. You've been listening to Dr. Justin Trosclair, taking you, #behind the curtain.